Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Twintuitive717. I am back with another video. I hope everyone's doing extremely well, and I really want to welcome the new subscribers and thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me. I am so happy to be a part of your journey as well. I do try to answer as many comments as I can, but guys, I do read all of them, and although I may not respond to each and every one of them, I appreciate you guys deeply, okay? Even your emojis, the observers in the community, and that's totally okay, because I was there too, where I would just be like anonymous and not really comment because I was so scared of sharing my details. So I really appreciate you guys, and I'm so happy to create a safe place for us all to be together to talk about the things that are on our plate. To add this twin flame journey to all of that is it's incredible, and I think it speaks volumes about the strength that each and every one of you have. I'll get right into it. I had shared the diving for light card in the last reading, and what I wanted to point out was the seahorses, guys, because see how they're like intertwined here together. So like it did catch my image, it did catch my attention so much to the point where I was able to notice the image again. And what I mean by that is I was reading this story to my son. So it's Marvel stories, but there's like a collection of 5 books. And I ended up seeing the seahorses again. And I'm like, what an odd place to see this image again. And so, of course, I had to dig into it. And I thought I'd bring you guys some messages from the Divine Masculine as to what that means. Okay. So there it is. So I'm just randomly reading the book to him, and I'm like, what the hell, is that seahorse again? So I just thought it was so weird to come across this image that's on the card, and you guys know how it is with synchronicities. I don't even have to tell you or mention it. I know there's a lot of you that, you know, really know how to navigate this path based on the things that are around you and are hidden in plain sight. So I just had to share the oddness of it happening. And speaking of the oddness, another thing that I ended up coming across was, you know, speaking of the seahorse, it is a sea creature, and we know that Neptune rules the sea, or is the god of the sea. And the sign that represents Neptune is the trident. And there's also a trident in this book, guys. Here it is. It was in the Crime Wave episode with Black Manta. I don't know if any of you are Aquaman fans, but there's that trident. So yeah, I had to pull some cards for this and really share with you guys everything that I was getting out of it, okay? So first, let's talk about the Neptune energy. And this is going to resonate if any of you are Pisces, if your counterpart is Pisces, if you're not directly a Pisces or your counterpart is, you or them may very well have a lot of Pisces energy in your birth chart. And what this talks about is your purpose here to be receptive to your psychic abilities and your intuition. And what that's teaching many of you is to count on your own thoughts and your own wisdom so that you can break free from limitations. Because what I feel overall is the masculines are going through a lot of changes right now that the feminine has been pushing. And what I mean by that is she is taking a lot of the programming that he's experienced, a lot of the wounding, a lot of the abandonment, rejection, shame, all of these things within him that has been making him act insecurely in the connection, and she's transforming it because she is acting towards him without judgment when he displays these kinds of behaviors or attitudes. And I feel like for many of you, you're able to do this now because you're in a place of really loving yourself to the point where you know when to discern, you know when to walk away, you know when to protect your energy, but at the same time you also know and can feel the sacredness of your twin flame journey, and you can sense why certain things are happening. And I'm so sorry for the audio, guys. My AC just turned on and I can't shut it off because we're experiencing a heat wave here in Ontario, and of course I've got my little one napping, so I definitely don't want him to be uncomfortable. So I'm so sorry about that. I will try to adjust it as much as I can in the editing phase, okay? So yeah, let's get back into this stuff about the seahorse. So the seahorse is actually a very potent symbol of strong partnership between male and female energies, and specifically the masculine and the feminine. So he's becoming very protective of the feminine and her children, her family, basically her entire bloodline. So I'm also picking up as well, like if you guys are different races or different cultures, or if there's any differences between, like that West Side Story, Romeo and Juliet kind of vibe. What I'm getting to tell you guys is like your connection was meant to heal this in your ancestry, okay? Like bringing everyone together despite races or culture differences and things like that, because that's how the world thrives. That's how we create, and that's how we really feel into each other's energy and live out and create this beautiful world that's in front of us. And the masculines are hopping on board with this agenda because it's not something that they have ever thought of before. But what I'm getting is like they've had that epiphany moment. And I really feel like it's coming from divine intervention, as far as God's intervening, source, angels, dreams. And the thing is like you can't really, you know, I want to say a Trini word, which is skylac. You can't mess around with dreams, right? They're divine messages that you feel a certain way when you wake up from that dream. You know there is a certain truth or a certain message that needs to be deciphered. So many of the masculines are going through this right now, and they really want to bring a mature energy to the connection now, because they are feeling this protectiveness over the feminine and anything that she cares about. And what's interesting too is that, the seahorse, they're very nurturing. They are actually the partner that carries the eggs until birth. So the female will hatch the eggs, and then the male carries the eggs in a pouch in his tail until they're ready to be born, which I think is incredible because it really shows you the transformation that they're going through, okay? So I'm going to start off with the Temperance card, because this is all about the masculine filling his own cup at this time. Okay, and he's having to really spread his wings and really forge his own way in life, because he's starting to see who he can count on and who he cannot count on. And it's really awakening him to go off on this journey by himself and become the strongest version of himself possible. And what I get is after this transformation, he will start transforming those same people that once judged him for speaking his truth or being authentic. But he's really kind of having to take the first step into the water, into his emotions, into his intuition, and stop relying on the outside world or the 3D world. Now it's time for him to really think clearly about his wants, needs, desires, his dreams, what he really wants to experience in this lifetime. And for many of them, they're trying their very best to get out of this energy of time is running out, because they don't want to see things that way anymore. It's creating too many clumsy mistakes in their eyes when they think about time running out. So they're really having to slow down and fill their own cup and trust in this process, because they're experiencing a lot in the material world in terms of just forging their way with their own career. If you could see here, he has one staff with him, one staff behind him, and he's ready to build now from a place of being passionate about the things he once was passionate about, but maybe everybody around him didn't really believe in him. They didn't think he could do it. So he kind of settled for the mundane way of doing things when authentically in his heart it didn't feel right. And it took the feminine coming into his life to really awaken that force within him to want to build and celebrate, because with the Four of Wands coming up next, you can see that's exactly what they're doing. And I love the blue and the red or pink here, because it really talks about, again, that seahorse image about the two male and female energies really coming together. And I think that this is really to celebrate and build with each other at this time, because the Four is all about stability. And I really feel for the masculines that their way of making up for lost time with the feminine is to build her a castle where she can just kick her feet up and enjoy the rest of her days being this creative force, raising his children creatively, giving him creative energy so that he can carry out a lot of his inner celebrations. Sorry, guys. Now we have the Eight of Wands as well, and we know 8 is that powerhouse number, which is the number that it really points out our need to be self-reliant, and this might be for many of your masculines as well. Maybe they're younger and they're still living at home, so they're thinking about getting an apartment or a place of their own. Maybe they're in connections where they're in a situation that they know that they need to break free from in order to give themselves a little bit of time to be a little bit more assertive and create, because many of them are being held back in the current spaces that they're in. So it's kind of like highlighting the lows and highs of that personal power number. It's like, even though you're experiencing the highs and lows of feeling reliant on people and you're not as quite as independent as you would like to be, the 8 is pushing you in the direction of being the executive, being dependent solely on yourself to get things done. And for many of the masculines, they're starting to understand that they cannot do this or complete this process without balancing the feminine energies within them. Because many of them are needing to create and network and build, and they're seeing that a lot of this energy takes softness and compassion and empathy towards people in order to create a successful endeavor or business, right? You have to be a people person. So they've really got to try to pull themselves up out of these energies here that are now coming up. So we've got failure, grief, and denial. Okay, so what I get from this is, there's a lot of you meeting your twin flames at this time, but you're already involved in a connection, or it kind of seems like you've met each other at a time where things aren't aligned, but you guys are being forced to push yourselves through this energy here, okay? Because again, with the temperance and diving for light, we've got to fill our own cup in order to live out what we want. And for all of you tuned in and listening right now, I know in my heart that means a physical union, a life experience here on earth with your twin flame. And no matter how much you guys try to spin it or convince yourself that, okay, maybe my connection is supposed to be this way and I'm supposed to accept it like that, or maybe it's supposed to be this and I'm supposed... No. For many of you, you're wanting and desiring a physical life with your twin. You're wanting to carry out a purpose with them. So in order to do that, you're going to have to get rid of all of these energies here that are trying to convince you that it's not possible because you have too many circumstances, too many obstacles, too many regrets in the way. When really we are divine creators of our life experience. All it is taking accountability and responsibility for ourselves. And that's what I mean by the male and female energy coming together. We're all being forced to live life in a way where we are not codependent. So for men, you're going to have to balance your female energies in order to do the things that you would need a female around to do. And for the feminines, you are having to balance your masculine energies in order to complete the daily ongoings of what you might feel like you might need a male in your life to do. So all of us are feeling this push to become very whole within ourselves. And it's not to say that at some point it's not okay to say, hey, I love you, I need you, and let's work together. But if you guys are really feeling this codependent energy, you're feeling, afraid of like failing, you're feeling a lot of grief right now, a lot of denial about your twin flame connection. Maybe you're thinking about coming or going. You're thinking, okay, I'm just going to forget about all of this and work on my marriage, even though at the end of the day, like, there's a lot within you that's telling you, like, hey, we're trying to push you out of these cycles, and you're tempted to go back. But when you really discern and think about it, you guys have to make a decision and move positively and bravely towards it. And that's where a lot of this accountability is coming from. It's going to take a lot of us having to pull up our socks and stand on our own 2 feet. But at the end of the day, we have to have our back, and we have to trust that when we have our backs, that means God has our back. That means our angels, our spiritual team, our higher self. Every entity and soul and being that came here on this realm to support us is waiting for us to reach out and call out for help in order to get past these energies. It's almost like when you come to Earth, you choose to forget everything. So if you don't ask for help, then your team can't really step in because they want you to have your own experience here. But that doesn't mean to say if you have to do it all alone, right? So I'm just going to wrap these cards up because I feel like you know, you guys kind of get it in terms of like what you need to move past. I don't want to reiterate any of the messages there or try to make the reading seem negative with these cards, because I know that it could be so triggering. But guys, like, we can't experience the best versions of ourselves unless we can get comfortable in these energies, okay? Like, even for me personally speaking, there's times where I post videos and they don't do as well, or there's times where I feel like I'm not doing the best that I can do as a mom, you know, but I've got to have my own back and get over this. I've got to understand that, you know, there's only opportunities to learn, and that's what the card says. So each time you guys fail, just see it as, where did I go wrong and how can I do better? And the masculines are having to face these lessons as well. Take accountability for their actions. And I feel like for the masculines too, these cards are coming up because of denying the connection, feeling like they failed you, and having a lot of grief over the fact that they may have lost you. But all of us go through these emotions, guys, and you know what? We're going to have to sit with it, and we're going to have to overcome it and feel into it. There's no escaping it. There's no running away from these emotions. The more you sink into it and the more you connect to where it's coming from, the faster you guys are going to be able to get through it. And I feel like all of these cards here represent us having to die for light, simply because of this twin flame journey. So I'm going to end off the reading with the Two of Spring. So I'm not sure if we had the Two of Wands coming up again. I'm pretty sure spring is Wands energy in here. But yeah, for it to come up twice, it's definitely a divine message of two people coming together and wanting to build together. And I really do feel like it's time to manifest. A lot of you guys have spent so much time thinking about and fantasizing about your dreams and your goals. It's time to bring it into action now. Two things coming together. You know, it reminds me of like the two seahorses intertwined coming together. And it's like effortless at this time because of that representation of breaking free of limitations. I think for the masculines too, like they're starting to get this vibe that the way they were appearing to the feminines before, it was like they thought that that was cool. Like they thought that, okay, like by acting this way, I'm going to get her to chase me, or this is how I've always behaved in relationships, and it's gotten women to be, you know, like crazy over me and stuff. And they're really like healing from a lot of this, and many of them are kind of feeling a little bit embarrassed and ashamed that they've acted like that, because I think for many of the feminines, like after you did like a lot of digging, you started becoming really turned off by this energy from your masculines, and it was making it easier and easier and easier for you to not care about the ghosting, not go running after them or chasing them and things like that. And that's why many of you feel like a complete disconnect from your masculines through your dreams, your thoughts, telepathy, things like that. It's like you can't really feel them. That's them purposely pulling away in order to really heal a lot of those energies, so that again they can bring in that fathering energy, that coming together with the female energy in a more protective and supportive way. Alright, and here we've got another 8 coming up. So again, that personal power number of just wanting to be your own boss. But I think for many of you, you're realizing it's going to have to take you back to a place of being a kid again, learning something new, learning from your elders. And for me, like what this kind of represents is like this innocent energy of going back to this place of your inner child and being curious to learn, being curious to know more, being curious to listen. And the divine masculines may be seeking very wise counsel from people that they trust. And what I'm getting is like older family members that are not so caught up in a lot of the sort of dramatic effects. It's like they've lived so long that sometimes they know at certain points in their lives what's important. And I feel like, again, with the masculine wanting to be a little bit more receptive to his own thoughts and to his own sense of self and intuition, he's actually seeking out counsel from those that resonate with that exact same energy. Okay, so he may be quiet at this time because it does feel a little bit lonely and isolated, but I think that's coming from having to lose a lot of that inner circle. But at the same time, it feels good. It feels good not to have to keep up with these people anymore, and to really, again, spend your time doing things that will actually benefit you, right? And I think for the masculines, they've shied away from that for a long time. You know, doing more creative things in the world that will actually take them out of their comfort zone in terms of learning something new. But they're very much prepared to do it all for you, feminines. All right, I hope this reading finds you all well. Hit that subscribe button if you guys love the content, and take care, and I will speak to you guys in the next video. Bye!